and share a screen. We only got a few paragraphs left of the 18th chapter or the 78th verse. So we'll take turns reading. I'll just read the what do you call it? The verse again in English. And then you can read the second paragraph because that's where we're starting out.
All right.
Hold on a second. Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Wherever this is the last verse of the Bhagavad-gītā. So I've done 102 of these already. So this is a historic. But then we're going to start on the Srimad Bhagavatam. We probably won't finish that in my lifetime, as Prabhupada didn't finish translating it in his lifetime because there's 17,000 verses. Wherever there is Krishna, master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be victory, opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion.
The Bhagavad-gītā began with an inquiry of Dhritarashtra's. He was hopeful of the victory of his sons. Assisted by great warriors like Bhishma, Drona, and Karna, he was hopeful that the victory would be on his side. But after describing the scene on the battlefield, Sanjay told the king, "You are thinking of victory, but my opinion is where Krishna and Arjuna are present, there will be a good fortune." He directly confirmed that Dhritarashtra could not expect victory for his side. Victory was certain for the side of Arjuna because Krishna was there. Krishna's acceptance of the post of charioteer for Arjuna was an exhibition of another opulence. Krishna is full of all opulences, and renunciation is one of them. There are many instances of such renunciation, for Krishna is almost the master of renunciation. The fight was actually between, is it Duryodhana? Yeah, and Yudhishthira. Arjuna was, yeah, I'm having a hard time pronouncing that.
Wait, actually, we're taking turns.
Oh, my fault.
The fight was actually between Duryodhana and Yudhishthira. Arjuna was fighting on behalf of his elder brother, Yudhishthira. Because Krishna and Arjuna were on the side of Yudhishthira, Yudhishthira's victory was certain. The battle was to decide who would rule the world. And Sanjaya predicted that the power would be transferred to Yudhishthira. It is also predicted here that Yudhishthira, after gaining victory in this battle, would flourish more and more because not only was he righteous and pious, but he was also a strict moralist. He never spoke a lie during his life. Go ahead.
There are many less intelligent persons who take Bhagavad-gītā to be a discussion of topics between two friends on a battlefield, but such a book cannot be scripture. Some may protest that Krishna incited Arjuna to fight, which is immoral, but the reality of the situation is clearly stated. Bhagavad-gītā is the supreme instruction in morality. The supreme instruction of morality is stated in the 9th chapter in the 34th verse.
Manmana bhava mad bhakta.
One must become a devotee of Krishna, and the essence of all religion is to surrender unto Krishna.
Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja.
The instructions of Bhagavad-gītā constitute the supreme process of religion and of morality. All other processes may be purifying and may lead to this process, But the last instruction of the Gita is the last word in all morality and religion. Surrender unto Krishna. This is the verdict of the 18th chapter.
Yeah, that's the most important verse in the entire Bhagavad-gītā. That's the bottom line. That's the essence of the Bhagavad-gītā and the conclusion of the Bhagavad-gītā. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender to me. Forget everything you learned. Forget everything I taught you. Just surrender to me. That I'll protect you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. From Bhagavad-gītā, we can understand that to realize oneself by philosophical speculation and by meditation is one process, but to fully surrender unto Krishna is the highest perfection. This is the essence of the teachings of Bhagavad-gītā. The path of regulative principles according to the orders of social life and according to different courses of religion may be a confidential path of knowledge. But although the rituals of religion are confidential, meditation and cultivation of knowledge are still more confidential. And surrender unto Krishna in devotional service and full Krishna consciousness is the most confidential instruction. That is the essence of the 18th chapter. Go ahead.
Another feature of Bhagavad-gītā is that the actual truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. The absolute truth is realized in three features: impersonal Brahma, localized Paramatma, and ultimately the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Perfect knowledge of the absolute truth means perfect knowledge of Krishna. If one understands Krishna, then all the departments of knowledge are part and parcel of that understanding. Krishna is transcendental, for he is always situated in his eternal internal potency. The living entities are manifested of his energy and are divided into two classes: eternally conditioned and eternally liberated. Such living entities are innumerable, and they are considered fundamental parts of Krishna. Material energy is manifested into 24 divisions. The creation is effective by eternal time, and it is created and dissolved by external energy. This manifestation of the cosmic world repeatedly becomes visible and invisible.
In Bhagavad-gītā, the five principal subject matters have been discussed: the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the material nature, the living entities, eternal time, and all kinds of activities. All is dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. All conceptions of the absolute truth, impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, and any other transcendental conception exist within the category of understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although superficially the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the living entity, material nature, and time appear to be different, nothing is different from the Supreme. But the Supreme is always different from everything. Lord Chaitanya's philosophy is that of, quote, inconceivable oneness and difference. That's called Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. This system of philosophy constitutes perfect knowledge of the absolute truth. Okay, this is the last paragraph here.
All right. The living entity in his original position is pure spirit. He is just like an atomic particle of the Supreme Spirit. Thus, Lord Krishna may be compared to the sun, and the living entities are to sunshine, because the living entities are the marginal energies of Krishna. They have a tendency to be in contact either with the material energy or with the spiritual energy. In other words, the living entity is situated between the two energies of the Lord, and because he belongs to the superior energy of the Lord, he has a particle of independence. By proper use of that independence, he comes under the direct order of Krishna. Thus he attains his normal condition in the pleasure-giving potency. Wow.
Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 18th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam in the matter of its conclusion. the perfection of renunciation. Jai, Bhagavad-gītā ki jai.
Jai, it's very
Now
powerful.
we're going to go through a summary of it. Can you see the screen here?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So this is chapter by chapter. And then if you have any questions after each one of these segments here, we can discuss.
All right.
Chapter 1, observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Two armies, those of the Pandavas and Kauravas, face each other on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Many signs indicate victory for the Pandavas. Dhritarashtra, the Pandavas' uncle and the Kauravas' father, doubts the possibility of his son's victory and asks Sanjaya, his secretary, to describe the scene on the battlefield. Arjuna, as one of 5 Pandava brothers, undergoes a crisis just before the fight. He's overwhelmed by compassion for his family members and teachers whom he is supposed to kill. After submitting before Krishna many noble and moral reasons why he wishes not to fight, Arjuna casts aside his weapons, overwhelmed with grief. Arjuna's reluctance to fight indicates his kind heart. Such a person is fit to receive transcendental knowledge. Go ahead and read the second one, unless you have any questions.
Chapter 2. Contents of the Gita summarized. Krishna does not sympathize with Arjun's arguments. Rather, he reminds Arjun that his duty is to fight and orders him to overcome his weakness of heart. Arjun is torn between his aversions to killing his relatives and Krishna's desire that he should fight. Aggrieved and confused, Arjuna asks Krishna for guidance and becomes his disciple. Krishna takes up the role of Arjun's spiritual master and teaches him that the soul is eternal and cannot be killed. Dying in battle promotes a fighter to the heavenly planets. So Arjuna should rejoice that those persons he is about to kill will achieve superior births. A person is eternally an individual. Only his body perishes. Thus, there is nothing to lament. Arjun's decision. Lament. Arjun's decision not to fight is based on his desire to enjoy life with his relatives, even at the cost of wisdom and duty. Such a mentality keeps one bound to the material world. Krishna advises Arjuna to engage in buddhi yoga, work without attachment to the results. By fighting in this way, Arjuna will free himself from the cycle of birth and death and become eligible to enter the kingdom of God.
Chapter 3, Karma Yoga. Arjuna is still confused. He thinks that Buddha Yoga means that one should retire from family active life and practice penances and austerities. But Krishna says, no, fight. But do it in a spirit of renunciation and offer all the results to the Supreme. This is the best purification. By working without attachment, one attains the Supreme. See, that's how we have to work. We have to offer everything to Krishna. Just like, sometimes I feel lazy and I don't want to practice the guitar, but it's an offering to Krishna. And tomorrow I'm going to bring my guitar to the program. But because Devananda's not going to be there. You don't know that, but they posted that. He won't be able to show up. He was going to be there, but apparently there's for some reason or other, he's not going to be there. But by working without attachment, one attains the Supreme. So we have it also says in one chapter, I think might be this chapter 3, you are entitled to work, but you're not entitled to the results of work. Everything should be offered to Krishna. So work on behalf of Krishna. That's what you can do as well in whatever job you have. Just work for the satisfaction of Krishna. Performing sacrifices for the pleasure of the Lord guarantees material prosperity and freedom from sinful reactions. Even a self-realized person never gives up his duty. He acts for the sake of educating others. See, that's also a sacrifice. When we try to follow Krishna's order by sharing this knowledge with others, Krishna is pleased, and by that endeavor, he will give us more knowledge. Arjuna then asks the Lord what it is that causes one to engage in sinful acts. Krishna answers that it is lust, which induces one to sin. This lust bewilders one and entangles one in the material world. Lust presents itself in the senses, mind, and intelligence, but it can be counteracted by self-control. Any questions about that?
So in order to get out of lust, the only way is by self-control, is what is.
Yeah, well, the self means Krishna. Krishna is a self of ourselves. So when we're dictated from within, when we're always remembering Krishna's instructions, then, and we're busy in working for Krishna, then we won't have time for any sense gratification or indulgence in our own senses. The whole thing is to be engaged. And also Prabhupada, he said, I'm just always praying that I will not fall down into Maya. So that's the way he approached it. If we're always praying like that, we're praying to Krishna and we're always engaged in his service, then we will be safe. But as soon as the mind wanders, it says that the idle hands are a devil's workshop. So you have to always be busy in Krishna consciousness, and you don't have time for anything else.
That answers my question. That was that really answered it real well. Chapter 4.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Chapter 4, Transcendental Knowledge. The science of Bhagavad-gītā was first spoken by Krishna to
Vivishvan,
the sun god. Vivishvan taught the science to his descendants, who taught it to humanity. This system of transmitting knowledge is called disciplic succession. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religion and a rise of irreligion, Krishna appears in his original transcendental form, untouched by material nature. One who understands the transcendental nature of the Lord attains the Lord's eternal abode at the time of death. Everyone surrenders to Krishna directly or indirectly, and Krishna reciprocates according to one's surrender. Krishna created a system called Varnasrama. With division,
it's actually called. The S is pronounced SH.
So I was trying to pick up on it. With divisions of social and spiritual life to engage people according to their psychophysical nature. By sacrificing the results of work to the Supreme, people gradually rise to the platform of transcendental knowledge. Ignorant and faithless people who doubt the revealed knowledge of the scriptures can never be happy, nor attain God consciousness.
Chapter 5, Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. Arjuna is still confused about what is better, renunciation of work or work in devotion. Krishna explains that devotional service is better. Since everything belongs to Krishna, nothing is one's own to renounce. That's what my spiritual master, Kirtanananda, he asked Swami Prabhupada in the very beginning of his devotional life when he was just a bhakta, a new devotee. He asked, so Srila Prabhupada, should I renounce everything? And Prabhupada started laughing at him. He said, what do you have to renounce? since everything belongs to Krishna, you have nothing to renounce. You can't even renounce your body. The body belongs to Krishna. Family belongs to Krishna. Everything in this material universe belongs to Krishna. So we have nothing to renounce. It all belongs to Krishna. Whatever one possesses, one should use in Krishna's service. A person working in such consciousness is renounced. This process, called karma yoga, helps one escape the result of fruitive action, entanglement and rebirth. See, that's really important, because if you sacrifice, if you work for Krishna, then all of your reactions are indemnified. That's why Krishna says in the 18th chapter, just do everything for me, surrender to me, and I'll protect you from all sinful reactions, good or bad. Whatever karma you may have is destroyed by surrendering to Krishna. And working for Krishna is one way. If you can't work for Krishna, then there's different stages. Then you can give money or do whatever you can just for Krishna's pleasure and service, and then in that way you won't be entangled in any reaction, because in each and every action there's an equal and opposite reaction, just like in physics. One who works in devotion with his mind and senses controlled is in divine consciousness. Although his senses are engaged with sense objects, he's aloof, situated in peace and happiness. Good.
Chapter 6, Dhyana Yoga. The process of mystic yoga entails cessations of material activities. Yet the true mystics is not he who performs no duty. A real yogi works according to his duty, without attachment to results or a desire for sense gratification. Rather, real yoga entails meeting the Supreme Soul within the heart and following his dictation. This is achieved with the help of a controlled mind. Through knowledge and realization, one becomes unaffected by the dualities of material existence, heat and cold, honor and dishonor. By regulation of eating, sleeping, working, and recreation, the yogi gains control over his body, mind, and activities, and becomes steady in his meditation on the transcendental self, on the transcendent self. Ultimately, he achieves samadhi, characterized by the ability to relish transcendental pleasure through transcendental senses. The highest yogi is he who always thinks of Krishna, the Supreme Soul.
Chapter 7, Knowledge of the Absolute. Krishna reveals himself as the origin of all material and spiritual energies. Although his energy manifests material nature with three states of being, goodness, passion, and ignorance, Krishna is not under material control, but everyone else is, except for those who have surrendered unto him. In other words, you transcend material nature. If you surrender to Krishna, you rise above the modes of material nature and are above the modes. It's like a lotus in the water never gets wet. When water hits a lotus leaf, it just drips off. So a devotee is not under the affectation of material goodness, passion, or ignorance. He is transcendental because he's directed by Krishna's energy and knowledge. Krishna is the essence of everything: taste of water, heat in the fire, the sound in ether, the light of the sun and moon, the ability in man, the original fragrance of the earth, the intelligence of the intelligent, and the life of all that lives. 4 types of men surrender to Krishna, and 4 types don't. Those who do not surrender remain covered by Krishna's temporary illusory potency and can never know him, but pious people become eligible for surrender to devotional service. Among them, those who understand that Krishna is the cause of all causes engage in devotional service with great determination and become dear to Krishna. These rare souls are sure to attain him.
Chapter 8. Chapter 8. Attaining the Supreme. Arjuna asks Krishna 7 questions. What is Brahman? What is self? What are fruitful activities? What is material manifestations? Who are demigods? Who is the Lord of sacrifice? And how can those engage in devotional service know Krishna at the time of death? Krishna replies, Brahman refers to the indestructible living entity, Jiva. The self refers to the soul's intrinsic nature of service. And fruitful activities means actions that develop material bodies. The material manifestation is the ever-changing physical nature. The demigods and their planets are part of the universal form of the Supreme Lord, and the Lord of sacrifice is Krishna himself as the super soul. As for knowing Krishna at the time of death, it depends on one's consciousness. This principle is this: whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain will not fail. He will attain without fail. Krishna says, whoever at the end of life quits his body, remembering me alone at once, attains my nature without a doubt. Therefore, my dear Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna, and at the same time, carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me, and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. During each day of Brahman, all living entities become manifested, and during his night, they merge into the unmanifested nature. Although there are auspicious and inauspicious times for leaving one's body, devotees of Krishna do not care about them. For by engaging in pure devotional service to Krishna, they automatically attain all the results derived from studying the Vedas, for engaging in sacrifice, charity, philosophical speculation, and so on. Such pure devotees reach the Lord's supreme eternal abode.
Yeah, it's really important that throughout one's life, one should only depend on Krishna alone. See, that's actually the definition of love. When you're actually connected to Krishna alone, exclusively, that is the definition of love, according to Bhishma. He's one of the Mahajans as well, the great souls who know about Krishna consciousness. So when we are receiving knowledge from Krishna in the heart, or when we're reading these books, we just want to understand what Krishna is saying, nothing else. We don't want our mind to be engaged in any other activity, not thinking of anything else, not trying to speculate on what it means or interpret it or have this or that feeling about it. We just want to understand what Krishna is saying, period, end of sentence. So when you do that and practice that way your whole life, then you'll become more and more God conscious throughout your life. And at the time of death, you'll be able to remember Krishna because it's become a habit. Habits become stronger and stronger with practice. But we have to start practicing because you never know when that moment is going to come. You could, like I just was talking with my wife, about how long we've lived in this house. I've lived here 9 years. I thought it was 8. And I said, oh my God, pretty soon I'll be dead. If I met her 20 years ago and on Valentine's Day in 2003. So we've been married 20 years as of last Valentine's Day. And for another, that seems like yesterday when we got married. But another 20 years, I'll be 87 years old. But I'll probably be dead because I haven't taken good care of my body. I plan on doing that a little bit more. But, who knows? Who knows when that day is going to come? There's a really nice devotee named Kadamba Kanana Swami who's actually dying of cancer right now. And of course, the former president of the United States is in hospice care. People are dying all over the place, and yet we don't think we're going to die. That is the most amazing thing, according to Yudhishthira. Okay, we've got 6 minutes and 20 seconds left. We're probably not going to get finished with all this, but I'll try to read as much as possible. And we're just going to end it and start with the Bhagavatam the next time. Chapter 9, the most confidential knowledge. This is a very important chapter here. According to Lord Krishna, the most confidential knowledge of devotional service, is the purest knowledge and the topmost education. It gives direct perception of the self by realization, and it is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting and joyfully performed. Krishna's unmanifested form pervades everything, but Krishna himself remains detached from matter. Material nature, working under his direction, produces all moving and non-moving beings. Krishna's unmanifested form pervades everything, but Krishna himself remains detached from matter. Material nature, working under his direction, produces all moving and non-moving beings. Different worshippers reach different goals. Men who want to attain the heavenly planets worship the demigods, and then they take birth among them to enjoy godly delights. But such men, after exhausting their pious credits, return to earth. Men who worship ancestors go to the planets of the ancestors, and those who worship ghosts become ghosts. But one who worships Krishna with exclusive devotion goes to him forever. Whatever Krishna's devotee eats, does, offers, or gives away in charity, he does as an offering to the Lord. Krishna reciprocates by caring what his devotee lacks and preserving what he has. By taking shelter of Krishna, even low-born people can attain the supreme destination. I think we're going to skip ahead. You like the 16th chapter, so you can read that.
All right, I'll definitely keep. It was good that we got through all this because there's not very many people that would do something like this.
That's for sure. Nobody talks about this kind of stuff. Go ahead.
Yeah, because I mean, it was just like we got this far, why stop now? And then I mean, unless something important came up. So I really am glad that I had that opportunity to do this, and I plan on doing that with Srimad Bhagavatams because
that'll be excellent.
now we're
Srimad
going.
Bhagavatam is the best book in the world. Everybody says that, and I agree. I've read it 3 times audiobook.
Yeah, but it was other than that, it was really good that we did this.
Yeah.
Chapter. I'm gonna read this, see if we'll get through. Chapter 16: the divine and demoniac natures. 2 classes of created beings, the divine and demoniac, are endowed with different qualities. Godly men like Arjuna possesses the godly qualities: charity, self-control, gentleness, modesty, forgiveness, cleanliness, austerity, simplicity, nonviolence, truthfulness, tranquility, fearlessness, freedom from anger, cultivation of spiritual knowledge, aversion of fault finding, compassion for all living beings, freedom from covetousness, and steady determination. Demoniac qualities such as pride, anger, envy, harshness, arrogance,
Arrogance.
arrogance, ignorance, impudence, uncleanliness, and improper behavior bind people in a network of illusion that makes them take birth again and again in demoniac species of life. Unable to approach Krishna, the demoniac gradually sink down to hell. 2 kinds of action, regulated and unregulated, yield different results. A person who discards scriptural injunctions attains neither perfection nor happiness nor the supreme destination. People regulated by scripture understand what duty is and what is not. They gradually attain the supreme destination by performing acts conducive to self-realization. Wow.
Anybody, you have any questions? Could we just have a couple of questions? We've got less than 2 minutes left.
I'm not really on top of my head, but other than that, it was just good that we got to get on together.
Yeah. The bottom line of this though is exclusive surrender. There's one verse from the Guru Vastakam prayers that we sing every morning. So let my mind be directed to whatever is the words of my spiritual master, not be swayed by anything else. So there's so many things, there are so many ways that our mind is distracted by different things. But if we fix our mind on Krishna's instructions, on the holy name, and on serving Krishna, then we won't become victim to his external energy. Because as soon as we do, then Maya will get us. You know, Maya's like right behind us, and she's also halfway around the block too. So you have to be really careful because the senses are very strong, and there's always a chance for fall down. So we always have to be vigilant to always remember Krishna's instructions and always churn the instructions of spiritual master in the mind. But anyway, I want to thank you for participating, and we're going to be starting with the Bhagavatam next week. I can't wait. You know, the first verse of the Bhagavatam, Bhaktisiddhanta, Prabhupada's spiritual master, spent a month on that one verse. There's 17,000 verses. So we'll be doing this for a while.
Well, I look forward